The Showreel neighbourhood to the east of Gaza was pummeled by airstrikes during the conflict. It's very close to the border, and that made it a prime launch pad for militants trying to fire rockets into Israel and a target for Israeli missiles.
If you come here during evening, you can actually see, even though these buildings are completely uninhabitable, you can actually still see lights because families are choosing to come back here rather than staying in the United Nations schools where several families are forced to sleep in the same room.
There's no longer any kind of road in Showreel. It's hard to imagine the force that tore the concrete into rubble. Rocks, dust, sand.
Most of the migrants in this camp didn't want to talk about the work they do in the black market. Tents like these pop up around agricultural fields where migrants can earn a handful of euros for picking crops. The lengthy and convoluted asylum process compels many to eventually seek the only work that they can get. Many of the migrants here have fallen entirely out of the official immigration system. Here in the countryside, they are completely alone. Many of the people here are vulnerable to being exploited. Working in the black market is the only option for most of them.
Julia Macfarlane is at the scene with the latest. Julia, what can you tell us?
Yes, Alice, we're here at Turnpike Lane in North London. This is actually the second shooting in the last week involving a teenager. Well, what happened this afternoon is that witnesses say an 18-year-old boy was shot as he sat in his car earlier this afternoon. Police and ambulances, including an air ambulance, arrived at the scene to find the boy collapsed just outside his car with a gunshot wound to his head. Now, police have told me in the last half hour that his situation remains life-threatening. Well, I've been speaking to local residents here. One shopkeeper said that he knows the boy, he knows his family, but there's very little by way of concrete information about what's actually happened here. However, we do know that since we've been here, there's been a heavy police presence. There have been several inspectors surveying the scene, and this incident is being looked at by the Trident and Area Crime Command. That's the Met Police unit which is tasked specifically into looking into gang-related crimes. Now, at this stage, there have been no arrests, but police are appealing for witnesses to come forward should they have any information about what happened this afternoon.
Thanks for that update. Julia Macfarlane there.
An attack is highly likely. You could say it is a matter of when and not if. That's the warning delivered today by the Met Police Commissioner Bernard Hogan-Howe. For places of faith, the challenge is how to keep your doors open to worshippers, but remaining vigilant at a time of increased threat. They won't be closing them anytime soon. Julia Macfarlane, BBC London News.
Well, Julia Macfarlane now looks at the background to the Black Lives Matter movement.
In America, Black Lives Matter has galvanized the debate on race relations in the US and is trying to use social media to turn its protests into political force. 8 years after his death, and this mural of Sean Rigg shows how deeply these cases still resonate. In America, the group is defined by its focus on the issue of black deaths by police. Here in the UK, the group wants to focus attention on the wider issues of race relations. They say Black Lives Matter, not just when they are lost. Julia Macfarlane, BBC News.
She was traumatised, in tears. Your brother is laying on the ground, he's not getting up, he's not getting up. She just explained to me that your brother's laying on the ground, he's not getting up. I think he's dead. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the night tube service. The night tube is currently...
It's been postponed, fraught with disputes between unions and transport bosses and concerns over noise levels. But the night tube is finally launching this week. The night tube has been years in the making, and it's hoped that it will unlock London's potential as a 24-hour economy, helping not just partygoers, but also night shift workers and boosting local businesses. More lines are set to join in the autumn, making London a 24-hour city. Julia Macfarlane, BBC London News.
Having a space which actually doesn't remind them of a hospital, actually gives them a view outside, not just I've come to hospital for treatment, actually is really important, just to help alleviate those anxieties.
Beating cancer. You could say it's the struggle of our time. 1 in every 2 people born after 1960 will be diagnosed with some form of cancer in their lifetime. It's hoped that with this new centre designed by patients for patients, that all too common experience with cancer might be improved. Julia Macfarlane, BBC News. Well, it's been a very exciting morning here at this small office in Southwark. Young Mind, it's a small team of around 30 people, mostly volunteers. And this morning, the Duke and Duchess, they visited staff, they talked to the volunteers, they attended a training session. And you might be able to see just over my shoulder right now that the Duchess is currently listening in on some calls made by parents who are concerned for their children's mental health and well-being. And joining me now is Lizanne Wilson. She's the Director of Operations here at Young Minds. Lizanne, is this the most exciting day you've had at work?
Yes, we're really thrilled that Kate and William have taken time out to come and see the fantastic work of our helpline today.
And how much of a boost do you think this is going to give to the work that you do?
I think it will give a huge boost, and it will really, I hope, encourage parents to call, that there is help out there, so call our helpline if they're worried about the behaviour of their children.
Thank you so much, Lizanne. And mental health is of particular concern to the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, and they're hoping that by visiting these small but very vital teams that they'll help to raise awareness on an issue that affects so many of us.